We are back, and guess what time it is? It's Wednesday, and that means only one thing. Isn't that right, Salty?
It's wild, weird, wacky Werewolf Wednesday. That's what it is. It's everything old is new again. Welcome to the Cold War 2.0. But what do I know? Hi, Purple. How's it going? Hey, chat. What's going on out there?
Doing all right. I can't believe it's midweek already. But as you said, we've got a awesome group of folks with us. Let's say, hey, we've got OBG70. Great to see you. Hey, Mike. We've got Smile a While. Hello, lovely. Good to see you. We've got Dempsey. Great to see you. We've got Magitech Mags. Hello, lovely. Hope you're doing well. We've got Geek Strong. He says, hey, everybody. Hello to you. Good evening to the Darren Zone. Hope you're doing well. We've got Mr. Batsu with us. We've got Wrenching. We've got D-Bud Martin. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We've got Gun Bunny and Psychodorf 9. Great to see you guys. We've got Leia Rose. Hey, please.
I was going to say, hey, Leia Rose, because she always says, hey, Salty. About a couple bits of business. First of all, OBG70, thank you. OBG70, thank you. Let me know when you want to mail it. OBG70 has done some 3D printing for me, because you guys know that I do the model work and stuff. Mike on his channel, OBG70, shows the process of creating 3D modeling stuff, how long it takes, the challenges. He made me a large Red Sonja, which is going to be coming out.
Amazing.
Check out Dempsey. Dempsey, feel free to, if you're not a mod, maybe hit purple or whatever. Dempsey just released a new track. He is a musician, a very talented one. He dropped it this morning. It actually had me doing this when I was on a work call. Go, You know, white man's over, but like, you know what I mean? Check out Dempsey. And not yet. I'm confident that our live stream last week was getting a human review because of the things we had talked about previously. I'm not even kidding. That's why it was delayed.
Oh, yes.
This is what happens when you talk about what's really going on, or as high tech calls it, disinformation. So anyway, just wanted to say those things and express my appreciation to everybody out there who's with us. These are strange days. And this week, we're not going to talk about everything YouTube doesn't want to talk about. Not because I'm afraid of it, because if I do, my head is going to explode.
Like scanners, just like a melon. Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you, D-Bud. Much appreciated. Thank you, guys. Have we missed anybody? I know we saw TZ Burton. Great to see you as well. So,
I do have one thing.
Okay.
I do have one thing.
What have you got?
Well, you know me.
I do.
Show everybody at home what didn't happen. Show everybody at home what didn't happen. Because this is, I just wanted to float this one out there. This was recent. Remember, there's no wreckage of this structure, which is in the stratosphere. And this is from a United States Air Force surveillance plane. And the size of that platform is 2 jumbo jets. But remember, it's disinformation if you say that the governments of the United States, Canada, not to mention undisclosed countries in South America, nobody could find one tiny little speck of evidence. They couldn't find anything, guys.
Well, it's easy to lose something that big, I guess.
I don't get it.
We've been played for fools because,
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about werewolves and vampires, and not those in the Oval Office or 10 Downing Street.
I miss when the monsters were actually fictional and we could go back into antiquity to find them.
Yeah.
Good times.
Well, when I go back to James Bond movies from the 60s and 70s and I see the bad guys and I'm like, you know what? I think that person would actually be a better president. Then we're in trouble. Just gonna say that. So
say hello to Greg. Good to see you. And Psychodorf,
Greg,
you're not wrong.
Gray, after this, go check out Wakazashi's Tea House. He had a really good live stream this morning talking about censorship, which again, it's not actually happening, but it is actually happening. But you can't say that it's happening because that, folks, say it with me at home. That's disinformation, even though it's actually happening. But of course, we are talking about the children's books of Roald Dahl, removing problematic characters that were actually lessons that you could learn as a kid, like don't be a fat slob, don't be selfish, don't worship the devil, basic stuff. But that could offend some people.
You could see why they took it out. Yeah.
So many things I want to say. Anyway, hi.
And good to see you guys as well.
What? Just go ahead, Purple, before I say something we both regret. You know what
I don't think that's the case anymore, but okay, let me kick things off. So this is actually something that Salty sent me, which was really cool, and it's something that I have actually I knew about, but I've never seen in person. So I thought I would share it with you guys because it's kind of awesome. So this is the amazing Margate Shell Grotto in Kent, and it's supposedly Kent's greatest mystery. Why? Let's find out. So the walls, the roof, are all covered in mystical designs. They are mosaics laid out, made entirely from seashells.
This is crazy. This is why I sent it to you. I was like, oh, do you just get on the bus and then
just hop on a bus?
You ride on the bonnet. Ambulate down the motorway to go see these fabulous things that are everywhere. I've got countless articles of new discoveries in the country formerly known as England and the United Kingdom. I don't know what they're calling it now. But you guys, every time you literally you dig a hole, like to put a garden in, you find Roman ruins or you find Stonehenge or something like the newest version. This thing blew me away. I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
This thing is beautiful indeed. So it says some of the motifs even resemble ancient Indian or Egyptian designs. The wonderful Margate Shell Grotto is obviously located in the UK and it's in Kent. And they've been kind enough to give us some really pretty pictures to give you an idea of what this place actually looks like. Wow. So all of this, bearing in mind, is actually underground, which is even stranger. So it was accidentally discovered in 1835. James Newglove's young son Joshua was lowered, it's back when kids were actually working, through a narrow hole on a rope to retrieve a tool, which presumably fell down a hole.
Yeah, that's why you had lots of kids back in the 17th and 18th century. It's like, all right, take the ugliest, stupidest one, put them on a rope, let's lower them down into this hole, and we got backups. Hail to Daniel, who's joined the chat. Hail to Chris Dempsey. Hail to the one and only Magitech Mags. It's great to see you guys. We're going to be covering some whimsical things as opposed to where to find your nearest fallout shelter or long-term storable food options, considering the hellish nightmarescape of World Economic Fund bullshit we're all living through right now. Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. Sorry.
True story. But I like to think that maybe James Newgood had like a group of kids with him, and he just kind of measured to see which kid would fit down his hole. But Joshua was the one that got sent down. Presumably, he found it all. But what he also found were incredible tunnels, all covered with seashells. So, shortly after the discovery, the land above the site was purchased, I bet it was, by Newlove himself, and he opened the grotto to the public in 1837 after installing a horizontal entrance into the altar chamber and lighting the tunnels with naked gas flame lighting.
Why not? Let's go ahead and pound a hole through this priceless 1,000-year-old shell mosaic to run a gaslight, Governor. God, where you want a gaslight here? Yeah,
That's
that's for you, Gray.
no
That's for
way
you.
that could be dangerous at all.
No, it'll be fine. In enclosed space with gas and
Absolutely.
flame, it's
Yeah,
fine. It'll be
it's
fine.
fine. Just keep shoving kids down there. It's okay. So, who used this subterranean passage in ancient times? Why were the walls, roofs, and all decorated with millions of shells? Well, let's find out. So it says the 2,000 square foot mosaic consists of as many as 4.6 million shells. Now, these aren't big shells. If you think that you get on like tropical beaches, these are British beaches, and they are little tiny shells about the size of the top digit of your thumb, to give you an idea of what these things are made up of. So it's cockle
top-
shells.
Top digit of your thumb, Governor. Is that what you say?
It is.
Hail to KMFS is in the house. Psycho Dwarf 9. I love all you guys' comments in chat. Dempsey says sometimes there just aren't enough. Oh, wait, I gotta do it again. Sometimes there just aren't enough rocks. All right, that's like if Forrest Gump was half British. Do you guys remember good movies? I don't. I don't know what a good movie is anymore. I think the only good movies that will ever exist are currently on VHS or DVD. I really, maybe Dune 2, maybe. Cocaine Bear is coming out.
Which I kind of actually want to watch in an ironic sort of way.
Can I just go off on a salty tangent? Check
Please
out the
do.
publicity photos of the cast, okay? I almost did a video on this, but I'm like, check out, they were on the red carpet for Cocaine Bear, which is not code for Hunter Biden at all. But one of the actresses, I believe she's, a BIPOC or something like that. She had it all hanging out. And we're used to seeing that with starlets, but she's kind of on that body positivity spectrum. Let's just say that. So she was there and she had like little smiley face thing, like little stickers. Purple, what's that part of a woman's anatomy that's like on her chest that they biological men don't have unless they're morbidly up? What is that sticky out part?
They used to be called breasts, I believe.
Okay, breasts. Yeah. So anyway, there's this woman and she's wearing this like see-through chainmail thing. But anyway, my point with all this is that is how they're promoting Cocaine Bear. So maybe it'll be entertaining. Well, maybe it won't. I will shut up. Let's talk about this natural wonder.
You sent people off on a tangent to Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear nipples. Cocaine Bear nipples.
So let's see what they've got to say about this shell grotto. So ever since it was discovered, it's been intriguing people, but they're still not quite sure, and there is much speculation and debate as to its origin. Some say it's an ancient pagan temple. I doubt it. I don't think so. The analysis of the symbolic meaning of the designs has led scientists to believe that it could have been a prehistoric Roman construction. Maybe an ancient Phaeacian temple or the work of a secret society.
Well, see, there's a culture we don't talk a lot about is the Phoenicians and the Phoenicians, and I don't know, maybe that's just your crazy UK spelling, like the way you spell colar, or instead of color, and aluminum instead of aluminium, or whatever the hell you call it. There's some interesting
keeping those U's.
The question with this is why would the Phoenicians way the hell away from where they should be? Okay, dig a hole, okay, and then spend millions and millions of hours putting tiny little shells,
tiny shells
in the wall. I mean, was there something that kept them down there? Were they planning to live down there long term? because maybe there was an asteroidal impact and they don't want to talk about the dates on this. I would
Mhm.
love to hear what chat thinks. But I mean, this is one of those things like, why would you do this? And if you were like from 10,000 years ago, you're more worried about like, I got to find something to eat and not get
Yes,
killed
well,
by
rather than
Bob
collecting
over there.
seashells,
By
yes.
Bob with his stick. And it's like, no, let's build this thing. I don't know. I don't understand.
It is weird. So there are also some scholars who think that the tunnels and chambers are connected to the Knights Templar and the Freemasons. Maybe. But according to the Kent Archaeological Society, they published results several years ago, and they believe that the grotto may have been associated with the Knights Templar with a construction date of the mid-12th century. His conclusions based on the careful measuring of angles within the grotto and the observance of the position of projected sunlight onto the inside dome. Now, we've talked about this quite a lot before, how important it is to line up the sun. If any of you guys are familiar with Stonehenge and pretty much any standing structure in the UK, it's always lined up to either the whichever solstice, so it's either the spring or the winter.
The autumnal covenant. Yeah. So here's the thing: when we start using the word Masons, and it's like, ooh, Masons, ooh. Here's the thing: the Freemasons did a rediscovery of long lost technology in mathematics and engineering. The Masons didn't invent it. Somebody somewhere got something, and where they got it from, Vatican Library, I don't know, maybe they were lowering one of their kids into a hole somewhere in Europe. They didn't just make this up on their own. Okay, a lot of what you saw coming out of the Renaissance after the Dark Ages was people getting already discovered technology and essentially copying it or updating it with other stuff. And that's really what the Masons, in my understanding of it, is. Now, if you look at Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson, Carlson is a Mason. He talks about the Masons and that they're not some secret society. Now, they do have secrets, but the secrets are the symbology. If you go back to those of you who are Christian or Jewish or whatever it is, just, Bible. We used to have to go to church and, Bible study and not go to training education classes like kids do now. But there's the myth of Moses in the burning bush. When he went out into the desert, I think it was for 30 days, and there's a burning bush, and he sees God, and God talks to him. Now, part of what the Mason iconography includes is the acacia bush. Now, the acacia bush, when burned in high enough concentrations, is a hallucinogen. Interestingly enough, it is very close to the chemical formula of, wait for it, ayahuasca. So check that out. The Masons, I think they're kind of like the Elks, only they have
a little bit more mysterious. Yeah.
I'm involved in civic organizations. I am akin to some of those. And I wish we had pagan altars and temples and orgies. We don't. We have prime rib last Friday of every month. And every other week we play bingo on Wednesday. So if you think that somehow that is part of the New World Order, I'm sad to disappoint you. But my point with all of this, again, is looking at the geometry of this, the Masons didn't invent this stuff. Maybe this was Masons, but I don't think it is. To me, this looks Moroccan. This looks North African. Maybe, I don't know. Someone, I think it was Adasia, was talking about Italian. I don't know. What do you guys in chat think?
Yeah, I think it looks closer to being Italian. It's, somebody mentioned, I think it mentioned further back that is a possibility. And looking at the design, especially the symmetry of them, I think that's most likely the case. And it's probably not as old as they perhaps thought. I don't think it's from the 12th century. I think it's probably a lot, maybe 17th, perhaps. Just by looking at the wear and tear on the shells.
So you're saying this could be maybe Edwardian or Victorian, where they go down there and have like orgies, probably,
Why not? The Victorians were into that kind of thing.
It's
Yeah,
true.
don't let that, don't the whole straight laced, very proper, prim and proper Victorians fool you. They
Oh yeah,
absolutely weren't. I might cover that one of these days.
I agree. I think it would be awesome to talk about that. Hail to Larry who says moose and elk.
Indeed.
Fun. It's fun, and you end up giving to you end up not on your phone doom scrolling, and you end up with some really wacky people, and usually there's some retro bar that looks like it's straight out of the 60s, and the drinks are strong and cheap, and I don't know, you get to pretend that we don't live in this era. So, yeah.
But this is probably the best picture of the lot, and really gives you an idea of what this actually looks like. I mean, obviously they've thankfully replaced the gas powered lighting, and we've got electric lights down there now. But just look at the detail that they've added to these things. And I knew about this place, but I'd never been there.
I think we should start a GoFundMe to send you to Kent. We'll put you in a, what do they call it? We'll put you on a trolley and send you down to where's that? North, south, east, west? I don't even know where the hell Kent is in the UK.
Kent is down from where I am.
You set me up for a joke. I have to make Purple Valkyrie's gonna go down on Kent and go see this. And yeah. What was that about the Coral Castle? I know there was somebody in Florida that was doing these amazing grottos and creating these things, and nobody knew how that individual was doing it. There's a story about how he was doing it for a lost love or something like that. We should probably talk about that on a show. Psycho Dwarf 9.
Soul Assassin. He said, look at the Coral Castle. Yeah, was built by one man who claimed to have rediscovered how the pyramids were built. Fascinating.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to let you finish this article in quick.
It's okay. I like bouncing around, and I like looking at the pictures. Like I said, just to give you an idea of what this place looks like. It kind of goes into a little bit more detail.
It's beautiful. Purple, please go to that close-up. Look at the detail work on this. Somebody laid that by hand, put that in there by hand, mortared it in place. Doing that type of work takes a lot of skill, not to mention the amount of time. Who would have done this? And why would have nobody talked about the fact that they did it if you did this? You'd be down the pub, having a point, governor, and he'd probably be like, that crazy dude, we're building a sex dungeon for him underground, and he's got all these shells. That's what would happen. And that's why I'm not really convinced maybe that this is Edwardian or Victorian. I think this goes back farther.
It goes back further? I don't know. I think we're somewhere in between. I don't think it goes back as far as the 12th century, but what do I know? But just to give you an idea of what this place looks like. So it says in one corner is an antique earthenware vessel, seemingly intended for the holding of holy water, a conjecture which leaves confirmation on the east side, which appears to have been formed to represent a altarpiece. So it seems to be reminiscence of the inside of a church, basically. Yeah. So it says there is therefore little to no doubt that this apartment was originally calculated for the most austere and sublime exercise of the Catholic Church, admitting no light but through the small stained window, which, however, when opened, immediately discloses a view of the ocean. It's only within a short time that it's been discovered, and they're still finding out about this place, but it is very, very beautiful.
I don't see this as copying a sex dungeon in the Vatican.
I don't think so, no.
I think there was somebody did a comment about Gaudi. And the Gaudi, if anyone has ever been to the cathedral, I believe it's in Barcelona, the Gaudi, which is still underway. There you can see these influences, and we talked about it. Is it Spanish? Is it North African? Is it Moroccan? I don't know, but this is a funky design to have in the UK. It really is. Now, you guys have had a lot of people coming through and
yes,
doing a lot of not so nice things to you, like the Vikings, and then of course, the Franks and the Germans, and everybody's just rolling through, getting their grape on. And I don't know who these cats were. I'm going to lean toward this being older in an older civilization. Again, the amount of time and effort, not just to, first of all, dig this hole, then After it collapsed on a bunch of people and killed them, to then dig it again, and people went, "Oh God, we should probably do something to hold this
Probably
up."
put supports up or something. Yes.
Yeah,
Then,
and then to find these shells, who has time to find millions of shells like this, and then to cart them all down, to mortar them, and then do that in what is obviously a very coordinated mathematical way of putting these things on the wall to make this beautiful relief. I don't know what it is. But I think it's fascinating. And this is the stuff that reminds us of how cool it is to be a human being.
yes,
Because
what people can actually create.
This is artificial intelligence, which is not intelligent at all. It is just a complex computer program that only produces the results that it's developed and that are programmed into it. Only a human being can find the spontaneity and insanity to make that kind of a thing, or maybe a genius, you know? Yeah.
And Kai says, are they all seashells or were they cast from seashells? They are all individual seashells. So there are things like sea snail shells, cockle shells, mussel shells, pretty much any basic seashell that you can think of that you would find around Europe. And a lot of these I haven't seen before. Even the flat scallop shells that they've put on the walls, they're not native to the UK. So these things would have to have been brought over to fill the walls.
I would like to postulate a theory which is based on nothing. And that's what leads me to believe, and ever since I sent you this article, is what if these shells were all over inland for miles? Because maybe there was an impact that caused tsunamis or something like that. I don't understand. You know, you can find shells, but shells on the order of magnitude of this, how the hell do you find that many shells? I mean, again, it's not a commercial harvesting thing. How did somebody come up with the shells? Or were these shells part of something else that is maybe underwater now? Because the UK looked very different. It was called Doggerland before it sank when all the sea levels rose. And surprise, it wasn't from carbon or cow farts or hamburgers.
Climate change. Yes.
Yeah, it was because of a cosmic impact. It could have been a CME in the sun. But I mean, again, I think that this is wide open to interpretation. I really do. So
it is, and again, similar to the Viking Museum that we talked about in the past, I'm going to add this to my list of places that I would like to visit, because I've been around quite a few places in the UK, but there's always somewhere new to discover.
I have a follow-up. Follow-up from a show we did, I think of 3 or 4 weeks ago. Do you remember the story of me talking about how you walk on beaches where I am and you find human body parts flushed up and bags of drugs and guns and stuff? And the sheriff's department here in Clallam County was crowdfunding getting a specialized DNA lab to perform a very, very expensive test to try and find out, based upon the decayed flesh and a bone marrow in a washed up foot, which was still in the tennis shoe on a beach where I go all the time. Well, they got the money and they got the DNA test. So this is the kind of high quality reporting you get here that you're not going to see on MSNBC or certainly the Communist News Network. I mean, the CNN. So this comes to us from from KRO7. This is Poop Central of the Pacific Northwest. No, not Portland. This is Seattle. Clallam County Sheriff's Department. Human foot found in Port Angeles belongs to a woman missing since 2018. Now, this is a beach. This is actually the lower Elwha. I walk here quite frequently. It doesn't do it a lot of justice. The lower Elwha was actually a river which was dammed for most of the 20th century for hydropower, and they blew it up in order to help the salmon keep spawning, because salmon populations are being decimated. Now, they say the reasons for that are not China literally scooping everything out of the sea and eating every effing thing that is in 3-mile drag lines.
Who are they actually blaming it on?
In our actual territorial waters. It's not them. It's some esoteric thing that you would hear, that like some woke Hollywood celebrity lecturing you on that you shouldn't have and you shouldn't do. That's what it is, which we all
wow.
Bullshit. But this is the beach. Clallam County, Port Angeles, crowdfunding for a DNA test led to the identification of human remains that were found on the beach 2 years ago, and I was here when that happened. In December of 2021, a woman's New Balance size 8 shoe containing a human foot was found near the mouth of the Elwha River in Port Angeles. Now, the limited recovery of the woman's remains, that's a kind way of saying the rest of her body was never found, but we did find this foot in a shoe. They didn't know what the hell to do. They ran it through standard DNA tests, but because of the exposure to the elements, to salt water, to crabs and every other sea beastie snacking on the remains still in the shoe, conventional DNA tests wouldn't work. So investigators weren't able to determine much about the woman other than she only had one foot if she was still alive. So in 2022, the Clallam County Sheriff's Office looked into a forensic DNA lab called OFRAM. Now, they provided advanced testing, but it cost a lot of money, and that's something the state of Washington wouldn't pay because all that money has to be given to junkie, homeless, repeat offenders on the streets of Seattle because they're experiencing, what do they call it? They're unhomed, and they need free needles. I'm going to stop talking. Anyway, they can't do it for whatever reason.
Basically, they've got higher priorities than solving missing persons
We have
crimes.
to let them keep shitting on the sidewalk and attacking people over and over. So to cover the costs, the Clallam County Sheriff's Department set up crowdfunding, and this is what we did the story on a couple of weeks ago. Now, the blah, blah, blah. Now, according to the Sheriff's Department, the labs provided a list of the surviving family members that matched based upon the DNA test that they did. Now, a lot of that came from when people do things like 21andMe, all of these other DNA tests, all of those that information, it doesn't get thrown away.
No, it does not. Just a heads up, anyone who wants to do it.
Which is why I've never done it and never will. Not that I'm afraid of anything, but you can't have that. Go away now. So anyway, does this have a happy ending? No, but we find out who this is. Now, the detectives contacted one of those family members who were a DNA hit and did a comparison. A short time later, this OFRAM confirmed that the foot belonged to a woman from Sequim. Now, Port Angeles and Sequim are about 15 miles apart. They're both coastal. Well, Port Angeles is coastal. Sequim used to be an agricultural town, but now it's full of retired people from California who have managed to F up that town really bad. For the longest
time, I didn't realize it was pronounced Squim. By the way, I thought it was Sequim.
Well, everybody's
I was corrected.
Yeah, it's Sequim. It's Sequim. So the name of the victim, her name was Geraldine L. Smith, and she was reported missing on January 7th of 2018. She was 68 years old at the time of her disappearance. Quote, surviving family members were grateful to the Clallam County Sheriff's Department, OFRAM Labs, and the citizens who generously crowdfunded the familial DNA work provided. Now, one thing this article does not talk about is where the rest of her is.
Yes, that is a very important question. I mean, it's great for the family to finally have closure. And I think in subsequent shows, we are going to talk about some of the missing people that have gone, just disappeared into the ether because there's a lot in that area. But
right here.
Yeah.
Right here. Good place to be disappeared and find chunks of you somewhere. Just saying. That's why I live here. I'm not responsible. I just
poor lady.
Yeah. She's 68 years old. She disappeared 7 o'clock in the morning. She's from Sequim, okay? 15-mile, 20-minute drive to Port Angeles. Now, once you get to Port Angeles, it's another 15, 20-minute drive from downtown Port Angeles to then get out to a remote road, which snakes down the side of a cliff hill thing and dumps you in. It's a public parking area, which is incredibly secluded. But it's actually what the Elwha River is privately owned land that you're allowed to walk on. Now you have to walk all the way out. It's about a half mile just to get out to the beach itself. So I don't know, where the hell did she go? Where's the rest of her? Why was her foot there? I mean, what happened here? We don't have sharks generally off our coast chomping on people like, in the Atlantic, if you're in San Francisco, maybe, but not here. So what the hell happened to her? Will we ever know? I mean, did she piss somebody off and they ran her through a wood chipper and then just somebody went for a boat ride and chucked the shoe out? I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Yes, but this isn't the first time that a shoe with a foot still inside is washed up. This is a regular occurrence, isn't it?
Yeah, that is not actually a lie. And you see it primarily on the western coast of British Columbia. Now, Vancouver Island, which is right across the strait from me, there's all kinds of stuff washing up. Now, a lot of people speculate that it's boating accidents on big Chinese fishing trawlers. Remember the same ones, that 3-mile drag lines, literally emptying the ocean out? Look it up. And somebody mouthed off. And so that,
over the side. Yep.
So many things I want to say, but apparently it's racist to make jokes that are funny. So anyway, use your imagination at home, kids. Anyway, it's wild. And I am going to talk about more here. There's some footage I did of a haunted hotel that I've gone to. There's also a UFO site here that I went and did some investigation on. And I looked at 500,000-year-old trees that were all blown down in the same direction on a perfectly clear day with no storms. It's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff. But that's why I live here, because it's crazy and it's wild.
It is indeed, yeah, and there are a lot, as I said, connections to the missing 411, which Mr. Batsu mentioned as well, and I think probably be a good idea to cover a few of those cases because they are fascinating. But I just want to say a huge thank you to Gray. Thank you so much. He sends us a super sticker, and it's a Shiba Inu that says "My hero." Thank you, Gray. You're our hero too. We really appreciate that.
You're not mine. You're just a dude I live stream with. I love you, Gray. I'm messing with you. And look at Daniel. Look at Daniel. Daniel's like, I wouldn't contribute DNA to any organization today unless it was an organization shaped like Zoe Deschanel or Deschanel.
Hello. We have the best.
Should I talk about that? That you could get your own private parking space and drop off some DNA. All right, I'm going to stop, Daniel. Go ahead. Yeah, let's keep this PG. Let's keep this.
Well, as PG as we can. Yes. Since we are talking weird and wonderful, I am going to hop back over to the UK because there's a place that Salty's just talked about, a place where he resides. So I'm going to talk about somewhere that is very near to where I live, which is a very, very weird place. So I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I thought I would give you guys a bit of a rundown about Cannock Chase Forest, because if you wanted to look up probably one of the weirdest and most paranormal places in the UK, well, we've kind of got it covered when you come to Cannock Chase.
Talked about this. You've talked about this with me privately, and I would love to have you go out there and shoot video with this and talk.
I'll go back out there. It's got a weird vibe. Even middle of the day, and you've got kids and families and people walking their dogs. It's kind of eerie and it's very quiet. There's very rarely any birds around, which is generally not a good sign.
No, that's one of the things. Walking deep in the woods is if it gets real quiet, something's happening. There's usually a predator around. Mr. Batsu says the missing 411 case that freaks him out is the one where they found the guy's thermos in a spot where he would have been looking at the roads and a house. Why didn't he just save himself? Now, Mr. Batsu is referring to David Paulides. I believe it's his first film, Missing 411 The Hunted. If you have not seen that, it is free on YouTube as well as on Amazon. I cannot recommend that series enough. You will end up going down a very welcome rabbit hole, and it asks some very, very interesting questions. Now, in that case, it happens in the Crazy Mountains, and I believe his name is Aaron Hedges, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was, yes, the bow hunter, yes. He went out with his friends and then didn't come back.
And they had a horse wreck, which means they were using mules to go up into the mountains because these are very rugged mountains in the Rockies of the United States. And they decided to separate. Now, one thing you'll learn watching Missing 411, if you've seen it, if you get into it, is when you go somewhere out in the woods, tell somebody. And number two is don't separate. Don't separate from your group. Like if somebody pees, you can hear them in voice range. You know what I mean? But even then, there are people who literally have disappeared in national parks where literally somebody went in the woods, peed 20 feet, and they never found anything, not a stick of gum, not footprints. Dogs couldn't track them. There are people who went out snowshoeing with aluminum snowshoes, with polyester stuff, with all of these things that people who are like, oh, my climate, say that these things never degrade. They could never find skis. They could never find backpacks. They can't find thermoses. They're just gone. Nobody's where they are. You know what I mean? So anyway, my point with all that is Mr. Batsu raises an interesting point. So sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes, indeed. No, you're absolutely correct. And Soul Assassin says Missing 411 are crazy, especially when it's kids describing bird people, Bigfoot, and robots. Yes,
Yeah.
some of the accounts that you get from the children are especially fascinating as to why and how they were kept warm
Safe.
during the night. Yes.
Big furry animals that keep them safe, or people who wouldn't talk, taking them into secret places. It's weird. It's really weird. Now, do I know what that all means? No. I just find that around the world, you have people giving the same accounts, especially kids, without any coaching, with no previous understanding. There's something there. Now, I don't know what it is, but again, I encourage you, please do your own research, check these things out. You will be entertained, but more importantly, you will, in my opinion, have a larger world open up to you. And it's one that is not controlled by Mama Susan or whoever Mama Susan trans forward replacement is, or any of these assholes that are out there. You know, just take a look at it. The world's a really cool place, even though they're trying to kill us all right now.
Yes, they're trying to remedy that. But in the meantime, it is a pretty cool place. Says, I didn't think there were any woods left near Birmingham, all torn down like Saruman did to feed the West Brom Orchis industry. Funny that you should mention that.
A wizard should know.
You're not technically wrong.
Wizard should know better.
So let me tell you about Cannock Chase. So Cannock Chase Forest, locally known as The Chase, as it is located in the north of Birmingham, which is in Staffordshire. The forest was designed as the Cannock Chase area of outstanding natural beauty. And it is pretty, if you like, rolling woods and forest and, places like that. It is very pretty. It's nice.
Sounds oppressive. Sounds oppressive to diversity.
It absolutely is. Yeah, it's got to be phobic or something, no doubt, walking. But it is believed to also be a portal to another world, and that's where the weirdness comes in, and these supernatural inhabitants that can travel back and forth. And believe me, there are a lot of them. So we'll cover a little bit of it.
What?
So the actual chase was formed around about the Triassic period. So it's a mixture of woodland, coniferous plantations, open heathland, and small lakes. And it's pretty much untouched and hasn't really changed because it was designated as an area of natural outstanding beauty. They can't really do anything with it. It's very popular with mountain bikers, hikers. People take their kids out there to have picnics, and it's good for the family. This is kind of on the ground, so this is one of the main areas. This is Shuffborough Hall, but what we want to get and talk about is the weirdness. So let me scroll down. There are memorials, which is a little bit weird. There's actually a German.
What does that mean? I mean, like, are they stone? Are they like just random created ones? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. No, there's actual memorials. One is to Russian soldiers. There is also a German graveyard for German prisoners of war that was built up there because they didn't know where to put them, so they made them their own graveyard. But let's get down to the strangeness. So it starts with the Cannock Chase murders, which happened in the late 1960s, and this is actually a really sad case. The bodies of 3 little girls were actually found in Cannock Chase. They were known as the A34 murders or the Babes in the Ditch murders, or Babes in the Wood, I think it was also known as. They were between 5 and 7, and it happened between 1965 and 67. Eventually, the guy was arrested, but yeah, there was potential. They thought that maybe there was another victim, but he never admitted that that was the case. And
You guys don't have the death penalty in the UK, do you?
not anymore. We did up until I think
good.
about the 1950s, but then they stopped it. It was hanging we used to do. Yes, but he died in prison after serving 45 years.
Need to bring that back.
Yeah, go ahead. I think so. You're absolutely right. But going back down, so as I said, it is rumored to be a portal. So weird things turn up all the time. We have got stories of werewolves, which is one of the most prevalent ones people see. We have black dogs, which I've talked about in the past. We have UFOs that have been seen frequently out on the moorlands. We've got big cats, which I've also talked about. The phantom big cats.
Yeah. We've done videos on that.
Oh,
I have one question about the werewolf. Was he seen at Trader Vic's? Because I hear his hair was perfect. Sorry. Did I kill you? Or are you good?
A little bit. I'm good.
Okay.
But this one I think you will really like. So this comes from the 1940s, and this is the creepy pig man. He was seen several times and claimed to have been seen throughout the last few decades. Obviously described as basically it's a dude, but with the head of a pig. He just runs around and makes squealing noises at people and then disappears into the undergrowth.
That sounds like a Clinton sex party. Speaking of which, Dempsey steps out of line. You and I are both going to share a cell at Guantanamo Bay. And he says, we still use hanging here in the United States, but only if you have dirt on Bill and Hill. Well, Dempsey,
not wrong.
Far be it from me to correct you, but you have to be shot and then hang yourself. As the most recent person that's in the, look it up. Look it up. Self-deletion. They said it was self-deletion. This person who was affiliated with those politicians shot themselves in the heart and then hung themselves. You can't make this up. Sorry, go ahead, bro.
You're absolutely right, and it's so many jokes we just can't. But there have also been. Are you familiar with the idea of the black-eyed children? Now, this is probably one of the more famous ones, especially around here. Yes, I will cover this probably in more detail because it kind of came out in the past few decades, but there is a lot of sightings of a black-eyed little girl. People claim to hear a child scream. When they go searching for the child, they see the young girl. She's said to be about 10. They said that she has her eyes covered, like her hands over her eyes, but when she removes her hands, her eyes are completely black. She then giggles and disappears. This apparition, I guess you could call it, has been cited over the course of the past 30 years. So people are still saying that they see her, around.
The black-eyed children are also present in North America. There were actually documented, people who reported this as evidence, and it's within police reports in Canada and the United States, of black-eyed children coming and knocking on the door and asking to come in. And people talking about how uncomfortable they were because something seemed wrong. They didn't seem to, when they encountered them, their eyes didn't really seem to focus. They felt sick to the stomach. They had this gnawing sense that something was wrong. Salty's not making this up. You can go find information on this. Now, what it means, I don't know. I just think it's really weird that stuff like this is happening. You use the word apparition, and I'm not going to correct you, but I am going to postulate something else that could be possible, which is this bleed through from other dimensions? Is this yet another instance where maybe we're screwing around? Well, not we, just the, I can't say all the words.
In general, yes.
Yeah. We'll just say the globalists, you know how Salty feels about like them and their little CERN thing. Are they causing bleed throughs? And I don't know. I'm just throwing that out.
It's a distinct possibility because Cannock Chase is said to be a portal between dimensions. And just to give you an idea of what it actually looks like when you're walking through the woods, it's very heavily forested, lots of underbrush. There are trails that you can follow, but it's pretty easy to navigate through, and it's easy to get lost as well. But just to give you an idea of kind of what it looks like, and if you're ever out in Cannock Chase, I would recommend go during the daytime because there's a lot of weirdness that goes on that isn't supernatural at night, even though they try and crack down on that. But
Well,
yeah,
you guys can just there in the UK. You guys can
Mhm.
just, if you go there, obviously bring a firearm, right?
Oh, yeah, we wish.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Never mind.
Yeah.
Had to rub that in.
So it's also a hotspot for ghosts that they say. No, there's been you can do a search probably on YouTube or pretty much anywhere else, and they will give you a whole list of supposedly ghostly sightings that people have had in this place. Now, I've been to Cannock Chase many times, and as I said, it's got a weird vibe to it, even in the summertime when it's hot and there's families and kids are running around and there's ice cream vans. It's still, if you step away from the bustle and the noise, you can lose yourself very quickly in these woods, and it is eerie. It's a very strange place.
Well, woods have an energy all their own. You know, when you're talking about that, looks like a primarily deciduous forest, so leaf
It
bearing
is,
trees,
yes.
and you're going to get a different vibe from those hardwood areas, especially in a country like yours with so much history. There has to be some type of residual energy. Um, it is very different because where I grew up originally, it was primarily deciduous, but there was some
Hmm.
firs mixed in. But when you go into woods like that, especially in the middle of nowhere, there's a certain kind of quiet that when the birds stop singing or you can hear the squirrels chittering, it gets weird. It gets weird.
Hmm.
Now where I live now, you know, it's primarily coniferous, not carnivorous. I said coniferous trees. So
Yes. Canopy is
large pines,
carnivorous. Yeah.
yeah, all those types of things. And it's a very different vibe. Now here, you know, when the wind blows, you can hear the huge pine trees rustling and the leaves rustling in it. Now I find that very calming. But you know, some people don't like the deep woods. To me, I don't think there's anything more terrifying than if somebody dropped me off in current day New York City or down in Washington, D.C. Both places I used to go to in the 90s. I would not want to be there for any reason at all. Drop me
Mhm.
in the middle of the woods. I'll make my way. I'll be just fine. You know?
No, I was actually the opposite. I didn't like the woods until I kind of got used to being out in the woods, and it's still a little bit wary, but I came to enjoy it and appreciate the beauty of being out in nature and being away from everywhere.
Yeah. I'd rather be killed by a bear than Bill Gates. Just want to say that. Daniel says, if you had to choose, would you rather never know if ghosts were real or meet one face to face?
Oh, that's
That we
easy.
should talk about on a show. I
Mhm.
think we should
Yeah.
talk to people. We have mentioned this before,
Mhm.
that if you have had a paranormal encounter or something that you can't explain, we would very much like to hear from people. And
Yes.
I've had my own unexplained experience like that with energy, and I guess the correct term is a poltergeist because it physically harmed me at the time and
Mhm.
threw me against a wall. And when I was 6 and in an empty house, and
Wow.
I still don't know what the hell that was. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more to this reality than they taught us, and that people don't
Mhm.
want to talk about because then they think you're crazy. So
Agreed. And I have to tell you, my encounter with the Mackenzie poltergeist in Edinburgh, that was an interesting one. But Psychodorf has also got a question. He says, Salty Purple, serious question. Has anyone plotted points like this, especially in conjunction with CERN?
I will. I've been talking about doing this for a while. And
Hmm.
the other thing is, there was a while when CERN was turned off. And then, of course, we heard all the bullshit about how Europe was going to freeze because my climate, because my Crimea, because, you know, so many lies meant
Yes.
to manipulate us. But CERN definitely was going to be powered. But your grandmother in Germany, fuck her. She can freeze to death. You know what I mean? That's the kind of world that we live in because it just is. Look around. So we didn't get into a lot of things that are happening in current day.
Hmm.
Please pay attention to the news in Tennessee. Tennessee is actually a large place where a lot of nuclear research was done, primarily for World War II, but there's also nuclear sites that are there. One of our storage sites and research sites is now on fire today. Don't know how it started, but this is a big deal. And much like what happened in Ohio, it's not being reported on the news. There have been multiple events in the last week
Mm-hmm.
that suddenly people want to aerosolize really toxic stuff and put them into the air. Ian Fleming said something that I truly believe in. Once is a one off, twice is a coincidence, three times is an enemy action. We are well beyond, in my opinion, the stage where we're looking what is being done right now. There is some enemy. There is an enemy. The question is exactly who is it or who are they? And why are they being allowed to do this to our country? Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I can't even say that, can I? You take an oath when you serve in the United States military about two kinds of enemies to the country. Let's say that. Purple, this has been an awesome show.
This has, and we didn't really scratch the surface. We've got so much that we want to cover, but yeah, thank you guys, thank you.
Yeah.
And I've still found some incredible things, and I've still got stories that I want to share next week. But I would love to cover. You got more.
I got forgotten pagan parties that I cannot wait to talk about. There's one from Egypt where it was just about let's get drunk as shit and screw everything, and that was like a national holiday in Egypt. Okay, back like they took a break from whatever they were doing to be like, let's fornicate like wild dogs in Cairo. I love it. I love all of these old festivals, and then of course let's align them up with our current day holidays and see if there's a match.
Yeah, see if there's any correlation. Indeed.
Yeah. But hail to everybody in chat. This has been a lot of fun today. You're awesome, Purple. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Thank you to Salty for always bringing his A game. Love getting to do these shows. You know that, guys. You know how much we love it. If there's anything that you want us to cover, put it in the comments below. But I think talking a little bit about the Mystic 411 would be a great idea, and kind of going more into the detail of the Black Eyed Kids as well, because you guys seem to know a lot about it. So I think that would be a good topic.
And I'll cover the ancient civilization stuff. Like I said, next time we meet, it'll probably be on my channel. We'll talk about the top 9 forgotten major pagan holidays that have occurred. I also have a list of brand new discovered, what they like to call out of place artifacts or things which completely discredit my science and my academia. So that's been happening. You haven't heard about that, just like you didn't hear about what happened in Ohio, just like we can't hear about what happened with Purple, what happened with that UFO stuff? Let's get into that next time we talk.
Yes, yeah.
I think Ohio happened. Ohio happened.
Yes.
Anyway, you guys are awesome. This is your wild, weird, wonderful, wacky Werewolf Wednesday show, and I look forward to it every week.
Me too. Huge thank you to Salty. Thank you to everybody who joined, and we will see you again very, very soon. Take care, guys.
His hair was